mocked you. They said you were foolish, too soft, too hopeful. They laughed when you kept trying, even when nothing was working. But look around. Where are they now? Drained, stuck, broke. Not just in money, but in spirit. And you? You're still here. Still breathing. Still holding on to something they'll never understand. Alignment. Karma doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers back to the quiet ones who never gave up. And tonight, something's about to shift. This is not motivation. This is a return to your power. Because while they clung to fear, you're about to unlock flow. And it all begins with one decision, one symbol, one forgotten ritual. Keep listening. Your moment starts now, Dot. And maybe you're finally ready to stop surviving and start receiving. And maybe you're finally ready to stop surviving and start receiving. Dot. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and for no obvious reason, something feels different. You don't know why, but there's a kind of stillness in the air. Your chest feels lighter, your thoughts more calm, and for the first time in a long while, you actually feel okay. Then you check your phone. A message you've been waiting for, maybe from a job, a person, or a financial opportunity, finally comes through. You feel like you didn't do anything to earn it overnight, but somehow, it's just there. Later that day, an unexpected amount hits your bank account. Not a fortune maybe, but enough to catch your breath, enough to feel like the tide is turning. And that thing that's been weighing you down for so long, it just doesn't seem to matter anymore. These moments, as small as they seem, are signs. Something is shifting. And it all begins not with effort, not with hustle, but with a decision to allow. What if I told you that what you're about to learn is a ritual kept hidden across centuries? Never written in books, never sold in stores. It was passed down through whispered stories, sacred trust, and deep understanding. This is not superstition. It's not a quick fix. It's a method used by spiritual leaders, healers, and monks who understand how energy moves while we sleep. They knew that true change starts not in the chaos of action, but in the silence of surrender. That's where this ritual begins. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but its power has outlived empires. And now, somehow, it has found its way to you, maybe not by accident, maybe because something in you is finally ready to listen. If you've made it this far, it's probably because you're done settling for struggle. You're ready to receive. And that's exactly what this is. A gentle but powerful invitation to stop chasing and start attracting. Let's talk about something that looks ordinary but holds extraordinary power. A simple red thread. At first glance, it's nothing special. It could be cotton or wool, twisted and worn around a wrist or tucked beneath a pillow. But when you start to trace its history, you'll see that this tiny object has quietly traveled across continents, cultures, and centuries. In ancient Jewish traditions, the red thread was tied to the left wrist, believed to protect against the evil eye. It wasn't just an accessory. It was spiritual armor, infused with the intention of safety and divine protection. In Hindu ceremonies, it symbolized a vow, a spiritual promise between humans and the divine, tying the visible world to the invisible. Then, in Tibetan Buddhism, monks would chant over the red thread, infusing it with sacred mantras, and pass it to others as a blessing, a quiet yet powerful transfer of energy. Even outside religion, this thread found its way into shamanic rituals in South America, African spiritual practices, and even European folk magic. The question is, how did this one object end up being used across so many different beliefs? The answer lies not in the thread itself, but in what it represents. It's not about the material, it's about meaning. Psychologists call it symbolic anchoring. When your brain links a physical object to a feeling, intention, or memory, it starts responding to that object differently. The red thread becomes more than a thread. It becomes a symbol, a trigger, a personal reminder that you are connected to something bigger. Think of it like this. Every time you see it or touch it, you're reminded of the decision you made, the moment you said yes to alignment, yes to peace, yes to abundance. And that consistent reminder creates a ripple effect inside you. Your nervous system responds, your thoughts shift, your awareness expands. You begin to move through the world differently, and others feel it too. People may not know what changed, but they notice you walk a little taller, you speak with more clarity, and opportunities seem to gravitate toward you. All because of a thread? Not exactly. It's you. You're the one creating the shift. The red thread is just the reminder. In the same way a wedding ring symbolizes love or a lucky charm reminds you of home, this thread becomes a symbol of intention. It holds space for the unseen, the felt, the quietly powerful. That's why cultures across time never threw it away. They respected it. They protected it. They passed it on to those who were ready, not as a superstition, but as a signal to the soul that now is the time to focus, to realign, to choose again. And it's simple. That's the beauty of it. In the ancient world, simplicity was power. The more direct the tool, the closer it was to truth. The red thread, as unassuming as it looks, is one of the most direct spiritual tools ever known. It doesn't require a belief system, a title, or a teacher. It only needs presence. So if you're holding one now or thinking of using one, remember this. The power doesn't come from the thread. It comes from what you put into it. When you tie it, you're making a declaration. When you place it under your pillow, you're planting a seed. And when you show up night after night with that same quiet intention, you're telling the universe that you're serious, that you're available, that you're ready. And that simple, humble red thread becomes a lifeline between your desire and your destiny. Not because it's magic, but because you are. Daisy was 60 years old when something inside her finally said enough. She had spent decades doing everything by the book, studying hard, working long hours, saving when she could, helping others even when she needed help herself. She tried to stay positive, kept her head down, and waited for life to reward her efforts. But year after year, things stayed the same. Opportunities passed her by, relationships fizzled out, and despite her best efforts, she always felt stuck. It wasn't that she was lazy or ungrateful. She just couldn't understand why. No matter what she tried, there was always this invisible wall between her and the life she wanted. At night, she would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the universe had forgotten her. Then one afternoon, while catching up with an old friend over coffee, something shifted. The conversation turned to energy and rituals, and her friend mentioned this curious practice she had learned while traveling through a remote village in South America. A healer there had shared a ritual involving a red thread, something symbolic and deeply rooted in ancient practice. You tie 3 knots, set your intentions, and place it under your pillow for 7 nights. That was it. No expensive courses, no complicated routines, just presence and intention. Daisy laughed at first. It sounded too simple, too mystical for her practical mind. She had tried everything else: therapy, coaching, even astrology. What could a piece of thread possibly change? But her friend's eyes were calm, steady. She wasn't trying to convince her. She just said, sometimes we need to stop trying so hard and start allowing something else to guide us. That night, Daisy stood at her bedside holding a red piece of cotton thread. She took a breath, tied 3 knots, one by one, whispering intentions she didn't even know she still carried. The first was for release, letting go of the weight she had been dragging for years. The second was for abundance, not just money, but joy, connection, opportunity. And the third was for trust. Trust that she didn't have to control everything for it to be okay. She placed it under her pillow and went to sleep. The next morning she felt different. Nothing big had happened, but there was a softness in her chest. It was like waking up without a burden she had forgotten she was carrying. 2 days later, she received an email she had written off months ago. A job offer, small but meaningful. On the fourth day, a small deposit showed up in her account, an overpayment from a company she had worked with last year. By the end of the week, her daughter called with news. She had landed a contract that could change everything. The wild part. The opportunity had come through someone Daisy had recommended months earlier, someone who had finally circled back and spoken her name with gratitude. These weren't miracles in the dramatic Hollywood sense. They were quiet, subtle alignments that showed up like gentle nudges. But Daisy noticed. She saw the thread, both literal and metaphorical, that had started weaving things together. And she understood. It wasn't the thread itself, it was her. The moment she stopped pushing and started inviting, the world responded. And that red thread became more than a ritual. It became a symbol of the day she chose herself. Now, Daisy doesn't talk about it like some magic trick. She speaks with the calm clarity of someone who knows, someone who has walked through years of doubt and still chose to believe in something unseen. When she sees people overwhelmed, burnt out, questioning if anything will ever change, she doesn't give advice. She just hands them a red thread and says, "Place this under your pillow and rest like the universe is working for you." Because now she knows. It always was. Sometimes, we're just not ready to see it until we slow down. Daisy didn't change her life in one night, but in 7 nights, she changed her perspective. And from there, everything else began to follow. It's funny how small acts can unlock something that was always there. Daisy realized that for years, she had been waiting for the world to give her permission. Permission to be happy, to slow down, to choose herself over obligations. She thought success had to be earned through sacrifice, pain, and non-stop doing. But in reality, all she needed was a moment of stillness, a symbol, and a choice. That red thread gave her something she hadn't felt in a long time, hope, but not the desperate kind. It was grounded, present, and real. It reminded her that alignment doesn't come from controlling every detail, but from trusting the flow. Each night became a sacred pause, a break from fear and overthinking. And with every morning, she woke up a little stronger, a little clearer. It wasn't about money showing up or problems disappearing. It was about no longer identifying herself with lack. For the first time, she didn't feel like a victim of circumstances. She felt like the creator of her story. That was the biggest shift. And honestly, that's something no one could have given her. She had to claim it. And maybe that's what this ritual is really about. It's not about fixing your life overnight. It's about waking up to the possibility that you don't have to keep living the way you always have. That change can begin quietly, with a piece of thread and a new story dot. Now let's talk about how to actually do the ritual. This isn't some big dramatic process that needs special lighting or incense or music playing in the background. It's about intention. It's about being present and deliberate with what you're calling in. First, you'll need a red thread, nothing fancy. Cotton is best because it's natural and conductive. It has been used for centuries because it holds energy without interference. Synthetic materials might look similar, but they don't carry the same frequency. Cut a piece long enough to tie 3 knots. Not just any knots. These are energetic statements, declarations that echo beyond what you can see. When you're ready, sit down with the thread in your hands. Take a few deep breaths to get centered. This is not a race. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're entering a space that belongs only to you. Start with the first knot. As you tie it, say to yourself, "I release all energy blocking my prosperity." Think about the fears, doubts, old stories, and failures you've been carrying. This is your chance to let them go. Don't overthink it. You don't have to relive every pain. Just acknowledge what's ready to be released and tie that intention into the thread. Then move to the second knot. As you tie it, say, "I activate the energy of abundance in my life." Here, you're calling forward the version of you that already exists on the other side of lack. You're saying yes to more clarity, more flow, more opportunity. Picture it however it makes sense to you. Maybe it's a growing business, peaceful mornings, generous friendships, or unexpected checks in the mail. You get to decide what abundance looks like for you. With the third knot, say, I open my paths with ease and confidence. This is the gateway knot. It's about surrendering the struggle and choosing flow instead. It's about trusting that the universe is organizing things behind the scenes even when you can't see it. Once all 3 knots are tied, take the thread and place it under your pillow. Simple, right? But don't underestimate this moment. During sleep, your mind lets go of logic. Your subconscious becomes receptive. This is when seeds are planted deep. This is when your energy can work for you without resistance. The thread becomes a transmitter, holding your intentions like a beacon in the quiet of night. Repeat this for 7 nights in a row. That's important. Why 7? Because 7 is a sacred number in many traditions. 7 chakras, 7 days in a week, 7 phases of the moon. It represents cycles, movement, and transformation. Think of each night as tuning your frequency 1 step closer to alignment. On the first night, you might feel nothing. By the third night, you might sleep better, dream more vividly, or feel less anxious during the day. By the 7th night, you'll notice the subtle shifts, the way people talk to you, the things that suddenly flow, the clarity you feel. Now some people ask, should I keep the same thread each week or start fresh? It's really up to you. If the thread still holds energy for you, keep it. If it feels complete, burn it or bury it with gratitude. This isn't about superstition. It's about connection. If a part of the ritual feels stale, don't force it. Rituals are alive. They respond to you. You can also write down your 3 intentions and place them under your pillow with the thread, or speak them aloud before bed if that resonates. The only rule is that you mean it. The power comes from presence, not perfection. And here's the part most people forget. The ritual doesn't end in the morning. How you carry yourself through the day matters too. If you declare abundance at night but speak lack during the day, your energy becomes mixed. So walk like someone who is supported. Speak like someone who believes. Choose like someone who trusts. Let your daily actions echo the intentions you tied into those knots. When you align what you think, say, and do, your energy becomes clear. And when energy is clear, it becomes magnetic. That's when people call you lucky. That's when unexpected things start showing up, not because you forced them, but because you match their frequency. This is a ritual, yes. But more than that, it's a commitment to yourself. It's a decision to stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. The thread is just the beginning. What comes next is the life that meets you halfway. Some people who have practiced this ritual say they feel a noticeable shift by the 4th or 5th night. One woman shared how she had struggled with money for years, and after committing to this nightly ritual, she didn't just feel calmer. She started thinking differently. She began noticing opportunities that were always there but previously seemed out of reach. Another man said it wasn't about the cash flow changing immediately, but how he finally stopped associating his self-worth with his bank account. He made peace with where he was, and that peace created space for better decisions. That's what this ritual is about. It's not a magic trick, it's a daily practice of trust. And trust, when built over time, creates transformation. You're not performing a spell, you're retraining your energy. You're choosing every night to realign with a better version of yourself. And when you do it, not because you're desperate, but because you're devoted, the universe meets that vibration with answers. So if you miss a night, don't panic, just begin again. Keep your focus on the energy you're building, not the steps you missed. Consistency creates momentum, but compassion keeps it sustainable. This is a ritual for real people, living real lives with real challenges. So bring your full self into it, even the messy parts. Especially the messy parts. That's where the transformation lives. Let's go a little deeper. You might be wondering why this ritual is done during sleep. Why not in the morning or during meditation? The answer has everything to do with how your mind works. During the day, your conscious brain is active, filtering, judging, comparing, controlling. But when you sleep, that conscious guard relaxes and your subconscious takes the wheel. And here's what most people don't realize. Your subconscious mind governs 95% of your thoughts, habits, and emotional reactions. It's like the autopilot system running in the background, constantly shaping your reality based on what it already believes. If you've carried a belief for years that money is hard to come by or that abundance isn't meant for you, that belief is rooted deep down, not in logic, but in emotion. So when you place a symbol like the red thread under your pillow, you're doing more than just hoping something shifts. You're giving your subconscious a new message while it's most receptive. You're saying, "This is what I choose now." And when that message is repeated night after night, your subconscious begins to rewire. That's when your energy starts changing. You're not fighting your old patterns. You're replacing them with new alignment. The ritual works not because of superstition, but because of neuroscience and intention working hand in hand. And here's the truth. You don't have to fully believe for it to start working. You just have to be willing, because willingness is the doorway. It's the bridge between doubt and transformation. And as small results start showing up, better sleep, more clarity, fewer emotional triggers, your faith grows. You begin to trust not just the ritual, but yourself. And this is where the real shift happens. You stop waiting for proof and start walking in belief. Now let's talk about something most people overlook. The real magic of this process isn't in the thread. It's in you. It's in the moment you decided to try, to take back your power, to stop saying someday and say now. That choice alone sends out a frequency that changes things. It tells the universe, "I'm ready." And the universe responds. Because when your intention, your energy, and your actions are aligned, you become magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. Even challenges start showing up differently, less like blocks and more like lessons. This is what it means to live with energetic integrity. You're no longer chasing change. You're embodying it. And that's a massive difference. You're not sitting around waiting for miracles. You're being the miracle. Think about that for a second. Think about how many times you've waited for someone or something to rescue you. What if that person was always you? What if the thread was just a mirror, reflecting back your own readiness to evolve? This is the part that hits home for so many people. We grow up looking outside of ourselves for the answers. We're taught to follow steps, fix problems, work harder. But we're rarely taught to pause and listen inward. This ritual invites you to do just that. It tells you in the quietest way possible that you already have what you need. You just forgot. And that's okay. The thread doesn't judge. It simply holds your intention night after night, like a promise whispered back to you by the universe. And when you rise in the morning, a little more aligned, a little more certain, you begin to carry that energy with you into the day. People might ask what changed. You won't always have the words, but you'll have the presence, the clarity, the ease, and you'll realize the shift wasn't in your circumstances. It was in you. So if you're still asking whether this can work for you, the answer is simple. It already has. The moment you gave yourself permission to hope again, to try something different, to choose something sacred, you opened a door. Now your only job is to keep walking through it. Keep showing up, keep tying the thread, keep believing in your own energy, because you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And the thread, well, it's just here to remind you of that truth. One woman I spoke with said she used to lie awake every night worrying about everything. Bills, work, her kids, the future. She started the thread ritual not expecting much. By the 5th night, she wasn't just sleeping better. She was waking up with ideas. She said her anxiety didn't disappear, but it lost its grip. Another man shared how he had been stuck in a job he hated for years. After doing the ritual for 2 weeks, he found himself taking a small risk, applying for a position he thought he'd never qualify for. Not only did he get the job, but his confidence skyrocketed. He said it wasn't about the thread, it was about having something to believe in again. These stories might sound small, but they're not. They're everything. Because real transformation doesn't always look like lightning bolts. Sometimes it looks like a better decision, a calmer conversation, a quiet yes. That's the power of this process. It grounds you. It helps you remember that healing isn't about being fixed. It's about being found by yourself. Every time you come back to the thread, you come back to your intention. And every time you do that, your life subtly realigns with the person you're becoming. Now that you've learned the ritual and felt the truth of it settling in your heart, it's time to take the next step. This is not the end of your journey. It's a beginning, and beginnings deserve to be marked with intention. So before you close this video, do something powerful. Write it down. In the comments, complete the sentence. My desire is, say what you truly want. Not what you think you're supposed to want, not what sounds good, but the real, raw thing pulsing in your chest. When you write it, something shifts. It becomes a declaration, a stake in the ground, a signal to the universe that you're not just hoping anymore, you're choosing. And when others read your words, it creates ripple energy. One person's clarity can light the path for someone else. That's the beauty of shared intention. And if someone came to your mind while watching this video, maybe a friend, a sibling, a partner, share it with them. Pass it on the way it was passed to you. Not as pressure, not as persuasion, but as possibility. Because you never know who's waiting for a quiet invitation to believe again. You're not here by accident. You made it to the end of this message for a reason. That reason is bigger than logic. It's soul deep. You're ready to remember who you are. You're ready to receive without guilt, to rest without fear, to live without constant proving. The thread is just the start. What comes next is yours to create. And this is only the beginning. If what you felt here moved something inside you, wait until you experience what comes next. In the upcoming video, we're stepping into a ritual that's even more powerful in its simplicity. It's called Just Listen Once and Watch How Money Flows to You. Sounds bold? That's because it is. The results speak for themselves. You don't have to do anything complicated. You don't have to believe 100%. All you have to do is show up, press play, and let it work on your energy. One listen, one moment, and everything could shift. So go now. Watch the next video. You've already said yes to change, now say yes to receiving. And here's a gentle reminder, you don't have to do this alone. Every person on this path is figuring it out, just like you. Every intention matters, every step counts. Sometimes the smallest shifts lead to the biggest changes. And that's what this is about, momentum. Not perfection, not performance, just honest, grounded movement in the direction of who you truly are. Let this video be a checkpoint, a pause, a turning point. You've gathered the tools, you've practiced the presence. Now it's time to walk in the energy you've created. Keep the thread close, but more importantly, keep your heart open. The way forward isn't always clear, but it is always calling. And you, just by being here, are already answering.